Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Jaded Game Makers podcast. I'm your host, Martin, a jaded, tired game developer with many years of game dev. And joining me today is my guest, Teddy.
Yeah, I'm Teddy. I'm also a Jaded game maker, egg developer, and game producer, designer. And I have my own game studio called Defiant Bear. And I'm very tired. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cool. So which game will we be talking about today?
So today we're going to be very trendy, actually, because we're going to cover Valheim. I hope I'm saying it well because I've seen some debates online about how to say it. Anyway, yeah, it's a big trendy game at the moment. It's basically a Viking survival game. So I would say it's a mix between maybe Ark, Terraria, and Dark Souls, something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, basically that's it. So do you want to say a little bit more about what it is, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose the idea is that you kind of you have a procedurally generated world that you appear in as a lowly Viking, and the idea is that you have to build your base, you have to find resources to build better armor, to build better weapons, and your quest is to find and fight bosses that appear in the world. And to do this, you have to sail, you have to mine more ores to be able to build better armor, and so on and so on. And of course, whenever something does manage to kill you, you drop all of your items. So that's the survival part that you have to be very careful, because after you drop all of your items, you have to get back to them to be able to pick them up, or else you've lost them.
And you can, of course, drop them in like positions where it's really, really, really hard to get back. So yeah, as it probably happened to most of you listening already. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I guess today what we're going to talk about is we both, I think, really love the game. It's a fantastic game. Play it. Everybody play it. It's an amazing game. So what we want to talk about instead is the top 10 features that we would like to see in the game. Some things that we think would make the game even better. And well, I guess we'll do 5 each. So Teddy, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, sure. So let's do this. So as you will see, yeah, my features are more on the kind of like PvP collaboration slash hardcore side of things. So my first feature would be to have like a hardcore mode in the game, because I know
Even
the
more
game is
hardcore.
yeah, the game is already quite brutal because you can basically lose like days of work in a second if you, I don't know, like if you die in the middle of the sea somewhere and
Yeah.
you have no way somehow to get your items from there, and basically you burst your entire progression because you've lost your items that you have been grinding for days maybe in a second. But I would still like to see something that actually kills your character for good, like so that you don't even have a choice of like coming back to your items and restoring your progression. And I would like to see that also because I think it would be like a really good kind of competitive stream game if it had that mode. And I would like to see like pro YouTube streamers try to finish the game in hardcore. But I think it would be really interesting.
And so would this be just a mode where like your entire world gets deleted if you die, and or is it also that monsters hit harder and that the difficulty is scaled up?
I think it would have to be both. I think it would have, but first it's more on the character on world side. So like if you die, you lose the world and you lose the character, so that there is no possibility of like restoring your progress. And then yeah, you can have like different difficulty settings as well potentially. But I think I think the game is already quite difficult. So maybe to start with, just having the kind of like the one life mode would be interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. I think it would be a cool feature. I actually saw that some streamers already were doing this as a challenge, that if they die once, they delete their world. So it sounds like it would be something that I think people would like in the game. Okay, so the first feature
My next one.
Yeah, well, hold on. I'm doing mine now. So the feature the feature that I would like to see, and I think this one shouldn't be too difficult for the developers to implement. I would like to see a way, or have a way, to be able to mark items as not pick up, and further maybe even have something like a loot filter. But to begin with, just having a way to basically mark certain items like stone, resin, or dwarf eyes as not pickup would really, really help me, because the amount of times that like I kill something and I fill up my inventory with the garbage that they drop, only to have to drop it again. I mean, it's cool that the game kind of doesn't immediately pick up things that you dropped, but whenever you kill something, it still does pick it up. And I have so many stones always in my inventory that at some point I have to throw out. It would just be so much easier to, I don't know, like right-click the item and say, like, never pick this up unless I manually pick it up. So I would really like to see that.
Yeah, I agree. It would be great. Unless like they somehow unlock a recipe to make soup out of stone or something, but then yeah.
But then you can remove the requirement not to pick it up, so it would still work. It's just like a slightly improved feature.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's a great idea.
Cool. Yeah. So what's your next one?
So my next one, so it's more on the collaboration side of things. So I would like to see a kind of feature so that Valheim would somehow put at the disposal of the community some persistent online servers, so that you don't necessarily have to host the server yourself, or your friend has to host the server. It would be nice to have like some kind of like official kind of servers where everybody can go and play with their friends, and I think that would be nice.
That does sound quite cool. So you mean like something that nobody needs to be in game for you to be able to join? It's just always up for players to join.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And would this be something that you would be able to make yourself, like your own world, and then have like, I don't know, 10 people as the maximum amount of people that can be in there at any time? Or how do you see this?
So I think it would have to be handled a bit in the same way as, for example, Rust does it. So Rust, they have like regular wipes of the world. So because the problem, if you just leave the server completely persistent like that, is like people are just gonna build and build.
Yeah,
At some
exactly.
point, it would just be like a massive like Viking village or Viking mess. So it still needs to be wiped from time to time, maybe every few months or something like that. But yeah, having that kind of ability of being persistent, I think would be interesting.
Yeah, it does sound quite cool. So you'd kind of be able to join an existing world and and basically get killed by people who are already much more powerful than you. Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. All right. Actually, I haven't played any like co-op or PvP yet in Valheim, so I'm not entirely sure how it works. I should try it out though, for sure, because it does sound like it would be very fun. All right, so let me go ahead with the next feature that I would like added, which is something that maybe most people don't have as much trouble with as I do, but for some reason it really, really frustrates me. And this is the fact that for whatever reason, maybe it's because I'm a terrible player, I really struggle attacking down walls. I don't know why, but when I'm up on a tower and I'm trying and something is attacking the tower or something is attacking my wall, I have a really hard time shooting down. I would like something like maybe some kind of a special weapon like hot oil that you can just pour down, or maybe even throw rocks down. Something that allows you to attack vertically, basically. I know that I have the high ground, so it should be over, but for some reason I just cannot attack them. So I have to go outside and I have to manually kill them, and this just frustrates me to no end. I really want to be able to throw hot oil on those Grey Dwarfs, but I cannot, and this makes me angry.
Yeah, or stones at least. Maybe use all the stones
Exactly,
that you have
yeah,
and
because
throw them at the Grey Dwarf or something.
they throw stones at me. Why can I not throw stones back at them? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about
So,
you? What's your
yeah,
next feature? Yeah.
So my next one ties in with the one I said before. It's about raising the limit of players on a server. So because at the moment you're limited to 10 players on one server. And so I think it would be nice to have like maybe a limit of like 50 players or something like that, or even more if they if they can manage to do it. Because it will really open up like the gameplay to like some pretty epic stuff. I think like different Viking clans fighting on the same server or maybe attacking each other and having different cities and stuff like that. So I think that would be really interesting.
That sounds really cool. And when you were playing online, did you notice any lag issues or anything like this, or has it been pretty smooth?
It's pretty smooth. I think the netcode is quite nice in general. I didn't really have any lag or anything to report now. So
Yeah, so maybe
probably
like
possible.
50 players, that wouldn't put too much strain on them if their netcode is already quite good. Yeah, this would definitely be a nice to have. Yeah, I guess most of the things that I want added are like very, very specific. So let me just go ahead with the next one, which is also very specific and also something that frustrates me. And it's the fact that while I can swim, I cannot dive. So if I kill something in slightly shallow water, I cannot actually go down and pick up the items, which is very annoying. And it would even be cool if you could do things like in Morrowind, where you could swim and dive down to pick up pearls or things like this. So I think just the ability to be able to move vertically in water, to be able to dive, would be very cool.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it would be really nice. But actually, like the fact that we don't have that, like I'm using this as a feature because all the items that I don't want, I'm basically throwing in the sea.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Which is a terrible example to give to the young ones out there and everything. But all the stones and great wild eye and stuff, I'm always throwing them in the sea because I know I will never pick them up again. So yeah.
So do you actually sail out and throw them ceremonially into the ocean, or?
No, just like a gangster. Like I have a little beach next to my base or something, and I'm just going there and throwing all my stones in the water like regularly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's see if you have the ability to dive. Then if you accidentally threw something out that was really valuable, you could still go down there and pick it up. Whereas now it's lost for good. So
yeah.
Cool. So what's your next feature?
So my next one, it's about specialization. So at the moment, maybe it's like a game design choice, I don't know, but like basically you can kind of like raise almost all the skills and kind of be good at everything. And I like to see a tiny bit more specialization in games like that. So for example, someone who really wants to be able to mine everything in the game, or who wants to be like the greatest flax harvester in the game or something, he kind of has to let go of another skill or another. He cannot be, for example, like the best warrior in the game and like the best miner. So I would like you to have choices on that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense because like at the moment, everybody just levels their wood cutting and their mining equally well, right? Because everybody has to do it in game. Yeah. So you're thinking something like maybe where you mark a certain skill, and that skill that you marked like levels faster or something like this, and you cannot change this, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. This would be really cool. Yeah, because I mean, at the moment, I think it is cool that you can level anything, but at the same time, like you said, everybody probably ends up being very similar in terms of the skills that they use and that they level.
Yeah.
Apart from maybe the weapons. Yeah.
What's your next one?
So, my next one, well, maybe doesn't make that much sense in the world at the moment, but once you hear the final feature that I would like added, this one will make even more sense. But having said that, the next feature that I would really like to see in the game is mounts, horses, or even deer, whatever, whatever you can, just something that you can ride and that lets you move faster. And maybe doesn't have that much of a stamina issue as you do when you are all geared up in heavy armor. And I think it would even work very well with like the ambience and the atmosphere in the game, which is already amazing. Like the game is beautiful. It just really feels like being a Viking with all the sailing and everything. And I'm pretty sure that Vikings had horses, right? I'm fairly certain that they did. Maybe they didn't use them that much, but probably they at least had a few. So it would be cool to have some mounts in the game, and it would be really cool to ride your horse through the plains. Maybe it could actually be faster than mosquitoes, right? So that would even be an advantage to it that way.
Yeah, unless you could ride the mosquito, but yeah.
Or that, yeah. But yeah, so I think this would be really cool, and it would add some kind of a pet. I mean, you can already like tame certain things. It's just that you cannot ride them. So I think it would be cool to have an ability to even ride something like husbandry, I think.
Yeah. I agree. That would be great. Yeah, I kind of wonder actually if Vikings were riding things or not, because well, I don't know if you watched that TV show Vikings, but I don't remember seeing them riding anything at all in that TV show. So
maybe they didn't do it that much, but I'm sure that they at least like every now and again had some horses. Maybe they were like just very expensive. I don't know, but you're right. They're usually not depicted as riding horses. Although I think the other Viking game that came out recently, which is nowhere near as good as Valheim, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I think that one actually does have mounts and you can ride horses. And they probably based it on something too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So what's your next feature?
Yeah, so my next one and last one, it's probably a bit more work for them, but in a way, like I understand that they wanted to stick to the kind of maybe to the real Viking story a little bit. As for like there is a lot of like mysticism and kind of like magical stuff happening as well. So one thing that I'm thinking is having the ability to have maybe spells or have activated skills during the game, because basically most of the actions you do is just how you hit with your sword. So either you use the left attack, the left click attack or right click attack, and that's basically it. But having like maybe skills that you've learned and that you can trigger to do some kind of like special I don't know, effects on things, or like spells that you can learn by going to some specific places and things like that. I think it's being interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you already have the activated powers that you gain from killing bosses. So yeah, there's already that. It's just that they have a really long cooldown, so you cannot use them very often, and you don't level them. Yeah. So I see what you mean. Although, I'm not sure, like, because it wouldn't really work very well with the theme. I mean, already the activated abilities are kind of pushing it a bit.
But yeah, you don't think it would be nice to have like, I don't know, like special attacks with your weapons?
Well, special attacks, special attacks I guess I could see. Yeah, special attacks I could see. It's just that I don't really want to be like throwing fireballs or things like this. I don't mind that like enemies have spells, like the shamans, but I'm not really sure I want my guy to be able to cast spells. But activating like special combat abilities, I can see that, yeah. So you maybe have something like an ultimate attack ability or, something that you can activate. I could see this. I could see it. Yeah, it's definitely not something that I would prioritize, but it does sound kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, so
what's your last one?
My last one, I think, is probably something that they already are working on. I have a feeling that they must be looking into this. And it has to do with the world generation, the procedural generation. And namely, it's the fact that I think while the world is really cool, I think on a grand scale, most of the worlds look very similar, right? It's just a lot of fairly small islands, and you always have to move from island to island by boat. But I think their procedural world generation already works very well. I mean, it seems basically seamless. Like it's amazing how real those worlds work and look. So I think it would be cool to be able to specify some parameters for the world generation. Like maybe you want a world which doesn't have so many small islands. Maybe it's just like a few really large islands. Or maybe it's a world which is all connected and just has like inland seas or lakes or things like this. And incidentally, if the world was entirely connected, mounts would make a lot more sense as well, because then you would actually have to make use of it a lot, as opposed to being able to just run from one corner of the island to the other corner of the island very quickly, as you can do now. So I think it would be cool if they allowed you, like if their world generation supported some parameters that you can set up so that you can have a very distinct looking world. And of course they are already distinct in that like the biomes are not in the same place, the boss altars are not in the same place. But it would be cool if they even looked different. Like if there was something, I don't know if I'm expressing it correctly, but if there was something that just made it like completely unique, like you have some kind of a gigantic mountain right next to an inland sea or something like this. Because I've seen a few maps online and like completely revealed maps, and they all kind of look very similar if you look from very far away. What do you think? Do you think this would work, or do you think that it's already good as it is, because sailing should be a very big part of the game?
Yeah, I quite like it as it is actually, and the fact that you have to kind of deal with the world you've been given. Yeah, for me that's quite interesting, and not having too much choice in how your world is gonna be. I think makes it part of the fun as well. Like, yeah.
This was one thing that I wasn't too sure about, because it is true that the game is very heavily based around this concept of having to sail from one island to the next. And if you could just basically say, I want my world just to be entirely connected so that I can just ride my horse everywhere, that would sort of defeat the purpose of how this game is meant to be played. But on the other hand, I'm not sure, because it would, it would be less repetitive, because right now it's kind of like you always have to just sail to an island, explore the island, then sail to the next island, explore the island, etc. And I think that on the second or third playthrough, maybe this will get a little bit repetitive. So if you could just say, okay, well, when I'm generating my second world, I want, the percentage of sea to be, 10%, right? As opposed to, what is it now, like 70 or maybe even more. And it generates a slightly different looking world, which means that you have to play a little differently, because maybe there's just a lot more plains that you have to cross all the time, right? So maybe you have to ride that horse through those plains very quickly so that you don't get killed.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, well, I guess these are the features. I don't know. Do you have anything to add that you thought of after we've gone through these 10 features that we would really like to see added to the game?
No, I think they should get started and work on that really. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the game is only what, like 16 euro. So what are we paying them for, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the game is amazing. So these are just small nitpicks of things that we would really like to see added to the game. But yeah. Anyway, we have to go back to playing Valheim. So that's it for us. And see you next time.